Istanan. Hindi na ako magkuha na. Can you hear me? Ha? Putol-putol?
Katungog
Pero
mimis,
masiyo sa way
putol-putol.
ba?
Katungog mimis,
O,
pero
bita.
putol-putol.
Putol-putol. Kaya inan kahinay ang connection ako. Dire, kaya guba among kuan. Nag-data ako. Guba among wifi. Muna bitang gusto ko makahibaw. Nga mo, kuan dahin mo. Mo-inform mo na ako. Nga wa mo kadungog or what. Nga di man sa mo maningog. Kaya dili ko ka-follow up kay poor akong connection. Ano man, makadungog mo? I am using only a data. Okay, so I will talk about the test last time. Many of you were not listening to the instruction. I told you it is not just simple substitution of the given. Kapila ka na ko nagsulti, nga kinahanglan inyong ihatag ang equivalent. So you know the formula. So for example, you have your P or your Q is raised to the power of n or n minus 1 like that. You just substituted the value of the P raised to the power of pila, pero pag the next step, you did not give me the equivalent, which I told you already nga, kinhanglan, you will show it, because how do I know nga you know how to use your calculator using the factorial. Pero what I had checked with your paper is just a substitution of the value, then diretso na dahin og answer. It is very easy for you to ask for the answer. Kapila na nako gisulti. There were very few following the instructions. So which shows that katong wala mag-follow og instructions, we're not listening. Ya di na ba ko mo check ana? I will not consider even if it is a correct answer without the different steps wherein I can see na you know actually how to get the combination or the permutation. Wala man. Diretso man o shortcut, which I do not like. Kapila na ako gisulti. How many times? Hapit na lang tayo musira ang semester. Nga nag-ingon ko, nga di ko I will not accept simple substitution to the formula and the final answer right away. I am after of whether you know how to compute or not. So, mo na sa inyong test. Now, your test was about binomial distribution. Our lesson today will be normal approximation to binomial distribution. But then before we'll go on to that, nga normal approximation to binomial distribution, I want you to look at first your katong sa assignment ninyo about Charlie. Yan napadiin ninyo sa test ninyo. What I had observed is you are giving me a solution which is not ask the problem. Naguna-una man mo. Some of you were giving me mean, standard deviation, and variance. I did not ask for that. So, na additional credit, thinking you will get additional credit because you have that one. I did not ask for that. Eh, karon na nato i-discuss. There were some. You can look at your LMS. If you will look at I introduced the katong solution atong Charlie, where you have n is equal to 7 shots, then the probability is equal to 0.82. Then we were solving for k is equal to 4 free throws. That one. As usana sa assignment, that is what I want to discuss now. In that assignment, we did not solve for the mean, variance, and standard deviation. Pero karon, because we are going to normal approximation to binomial distribution, this time, we are going to solve for the mean, variance, and standard deviation. Of which some of you solve for that, nga wa gipangayo sa test. May kay mustana, nag-una-una mo. So, you look at the problem about Charlie, kato yung assignment. So, from that data, we can solve for the mean, wherein we know that our mean is represented always by mu, and which is equivalent to the expected value. That is why it is represented as capital E. So if we are going to get the expected value or the mean of the problem with Charlie, take note that mean or the mu is equivalent to n times p. That is the formula for the mean. So we have our mean is equal to n, which is 7, and our p is equal to 0.82. So we were able to get an answer of the mean is 5.74. Now, from our variance, for our variance, that is equivalent variance is equivalent to standard deviation squared, or our representation is sigma. So it is sigma squared. Now, our variance is represented by a capital V. So we are solving for the variance of x, wherein that variance of x will be equivalent to n times p times q. Or you can see it that n times p times 1 minus p, because 1 minus p is equivalent to q. That is representing the failures, while the p will be representing the the successes. So if you will solve for the variance of our problem about Charlie, you will have it as v of x variance. You will have the b, or the n is 7. Then we have 0.82 for the p. And if you want to know the q, that way this 1 minus 0.82, that is more or less 0.28. So you will get a variance of 1.033. Now, aside from that one, you are going to solve for the standard deviation. Our standard deviation is the square root of our variance. So square root of the variance is square root of 1.033. We will get a value of standard deviation. So expect that in the next test, when we are going to go on to normal approximation to binomial distribution, this will be already included in the test. Dili ka nag-una-una mo. So, now we will go to normal approximation to the binomial distribution. You can see the theoretical part there in the LMS. Historically, being able to compute binomial probabilities was one of the most important applications of the central limit theorem. You know, the central limit theorem is in the probability and statistics. Binomial probabilities with a small value for n, say 20, or you can have any number for n. That is, because I want you to take note that you can see, the use of this normal approximation to binomial distribution. Now we have here, to compute the normal approximation to the binomial distribution, you are going to take a simple random sample from a population. You must meet the following conditions of a binomial distribution. Now we know that the binomial distribution will have only two outcomes. There are a center number of n of independent trials. The outcomes of any trial are success or failure. Each trial has the same probability of a success. Okay, now the question will be, kanusa ka ni namo gamiton ang normal approximation to binomial distribution? So if you will have x as the binomial random variable, x is equivalent to or more or less equal to the binomial, then you will have n times n and p. Now, this is the condition where you are going to make use of the normal approximation to binomial distribution. It can be the quantities of n and n times p and n times q must both be greater than 5. So that is why it is important to get first the product of the n times p or the n times q. If you can see that the product is more than 5 for n times p and n times q, the approximation is better if they are both greater than or equal to 10. So pwede your basis for n times p will be greater than 5, or you can start with 10. If you will get a product of n times p equivalent to 10 or greater, you will not solve for the binomial distribution using the formula of binomial distribution, but then you can make use of the normal approximation to binomial distribution. That is the answer to your question nga kanusa gamiton ang normal approximation to binomial distribution. So kanusa na to gamiton ang normal approximation to binomial distribution? When are we going to use it? Nakadungog mo? Wala.
Dungog.
Sus, wala may niting. Okay. Fernandez, Athena, do you hear me?
Yes, miss.
Wa mo kadungog, di na lang ta magklase, uy. Wala may motubag. Can you hear me?
Yes, miss. Dungog na, miss.
Okay. So kanusa man gamiton ang normal approximation to binomial distribution. Because if you can see a binomial distribution, pwede ra baya ninyo gamitan dayon sa formula. Katong formula sa kuan, binomial distribution. But we are now discussing about normal approximation to binomial distribution. Kanusa nato gamito ni method nga normal approximation to binomial distribution? Kanusa? Wala may manubag, tanawa niya inyong grado ha. I had already submitted your grades. Na naay uban nga nag-email, when I already recorded those who sent an email, ang uban nga nung anak ma'am ninyo ipada sa messenger ang inyong answer in town, na it can be seen by everybody. Another thing, I am recording the email nga inyong gipadana ko with the date. I-match na nako dito sa LMS. So if you send me an email nga 324, ang test 324, I can consider that one. But then it is not of the same weight as your katong normal nga nag-submit. Ha? Basig magtuo mo nga, you were able to copy, awahi mo ni submit, parehas mo nga 100, 100. No, it is only 25%. Now, kato nag-email nako, mautong wala ka-attach. If wala mo ka-attach, when I look at the email, when I look at the LMS, naa ang inyong pangan, pero it is no attachment. How come nga your name is not in the LMS during the test, pero gisindan ko ninyong email sa solution? Nga wala man mo, maapil sa nagkuha og test sa LMS. Nga ma-recorded man tanan. So if you were not able to attach, it means that there is no attachment. So that is why you send it through email. Naay imong pangalan sa LMS. Pero wala gali imong pangalan sa LMS, ano accept po mong tunako ang imong gi-email nga wala man ka sa nitsud sa klase pag test. Mo na tanaw mo na niya plus wala pa jud mo maminaw, wala na di maminaw. Nya karon we have a new lesson, wala gay mo tubag. How do I know nga nakasabot mo wa? Usa ra may motingog. Asa man day mong uban? Oh. When will you apply the normal approximation to binomial distribution? Anybody from the stage? Wala kay dili na ko mo klase.
Ako, miss. If product sa NP o ang product sa NQ kay
Kita man inay kayo. Di ko
Fernandez,
sa man
miss.
eh.
Fernandez.
Ha? Fernandez? Okay.
Mm.
When will you use
If ang
normal
product sa
approximation to binomial distribution? Yes?
product
Okay,
sa
dinay-
NP low. If ang product sa NP o ang product sa NQ kay greater than or equal to 10.
Okay. So, when the product of it's either the product ang inyong basihan, it's either the product of n times p or n times q is greater than 10, you will not use the formula for binomial distribution, but you can apply normal approximation to binomial distribution. That is your basis for applying your normal approximation to binomial distribution. Now, when you use normal approximation to binomial distribution, be sure you know the continuity correction factors. Tara mo ilista diha sa continuity correction factors. Now, ang meaning aning continuity correction factors, if your probability, the given in the problem is x is equal to n. If in the problem your x is equal to n, you are going to use the probability nga correction factor n minus 0.5 less than x less than n plus 0.5. But if in the problem your x, the x that is asked in the problem is greater than n, you will have to use the correction factor nga p, then you will have x greater than n plus 0.5. So you will have to change first the problem to this format in terms of the probability, because you will have to determine what continuity correction factor you are going to apply. So take note of all of this. You have there, if the probability of x is less than or equal to n, you have the correction factor p will be x less than n plus 0.5. The 0.5 there is constant. If p, the probability of x is less than n, use p x less than n minus 0.5. Now, if the probability of x is greater than n, use p of x greater than n minus 0.5. You should know the correction factor. Okay. I have placed there an example wherein I am giving an example of x which is equal to 6. So meaning to say that your x, you are going to get the probability of x equal to 6. And then, ang value sa x is fixed at 6. Now you have the left-hand column is representing the discrete, while the right-hand column represents the representation of a continuous. So making use of the continuity correction factor, if your x is equal to 6, ang imong continuity correction factor when you solve it will be the probability of 5.5 less than x less than 6.5. So then you will have all the representations there with respect to the correction factor. Okay, we'll have an example. Katong okay, you try to look at that. It is also there. Normal approximation example. 62% of 12, na sa inyong kuan, LMS tanawa. 62% of 12 graders attend school in a particular urban school district with a sample of 500 ka 12 grade children are selected. Find the probability that at least 290 are actually enrolled in the given district. So you try to look at your P, your Q, and your N. Ang given N ana is 500. So the sample size is 500. Ang iyang probability is given as 62%. So that 62% is identified as P. So if you want to know the Q, it will be 1 minus P. So you will have it at 0.38. So you know your N, you know your P, and you know your Q. Now, since we are going to base it from our product of N times P or N times Q, ang inyong N 500 times P, pila man na siya? Is it more than 10? So N times P is 310. Or if you will have it P N times Q, it is just the same as if you will have it as the basis, you will have it N is 500 times 0.38, which is your Q, it is more than 10. So because the product of N times P and N times Q is greater than 10, we can make use of the continuity correction factor. Now, before you can apply your continuity correction factor, you are going to represent the probability that at least 290 are actually enrolled in the school. So for the given problem, if you will rewrite it again, you are going to solve for the probability of X is greater than or equal to 290. That is based from the given. So it is stated that find the probability that at least 290 are actually enrolled. Are actually enrolled. So with the word list, in your mathematics, if you will have the word list, it is represented by greater than. Diba? Is that correct? If you can see list or at most, you learn it in your mathematics that the list will be represented by greater than, and if you will have it at most, it will be represented by less than. So since the problem states that find the probability that at least 290 are actually enrolled, so when you will make the correct representation for the probability, it will be the probability of X greater than or equal to 290. Now, from the given statement, tanaw ninyo sa inyong correction factor, greater than or equal kung unsay continuity correction factor ana sa greater than or equal to. So if you can see, if you will look at your correction factor, ang problem nato coincides with if P where X is greater than or equal to N, you are going to use P, X is greater than N minus 0.5. That is what you are going to use. So you transform first your problem. Your problem is P, the probability of X is greater than or equal to 290. That will be equal to, rewrite the correction factor, that will be equal to P, X greater than or equal to P, X greater than N minus 0.5, or it will be like this. See. Ang atong problem is that if we are going to transform our problem, we have here P, the problem is X greater than or equal to greater than, wala man ko ikuan, I do not know how to place, we just place slash greater than or equal to N. But in our N is 290. So this will be equal to P ang iyang correction factor ani is P is X greater than,
Excuse me, Miss. Miss, makatawag ka pa, Miss.
yeah?
Pwede mo tanong, Miss. Asa ang
Kadumog ba
kanang kwan,
dili?
Miss? Miss, asa ang
Unsa?
kanang kwan na, Miss? Kanang example lang ng imong gi-discuss karon, Miss.
No, wala dia sa kuan, wala
Wala,
dia
Miss.
sa
Wala
unsa?
na attach sa
Sa
LMS. katurang kuan, katurang ang
Wala
mo
mata sa
attach,
LMS?
ang na-attach nimo Miss sa LMS Miss is katurang PowerPoint sa kaning approximate
Okay, so
normal
ang
approximation.
ako na lang ihatag ang given ha. We have here 62% of the 12th graders nga nag-attend sa school. So 62%. 62%. Sa man ay. Naglisod magguguan ni nga na ako diri sa gawas. In the given problem, it is 62%. Pero di yan ako iswatan na of 12th graders. Third graders attend school in a particular urban school. Ilan ako, ano lang ako ang importante. So, kana siya, ang sample of 500 to 12th graders. With 500 children na lang. Understood na ng 12th graders, ha? Children are selected. Ang kuan na, selected. Fine. Saba kay di ako sa gawas kita wa may signal. It is that at least, ha? That at least
By the way, Miss, sorry to interrupt, Miss. Katabi to sa last assignment, Miss. Pwede ko mag-ngay ko Miss, solution, Miss, kay galibog manggod ko, Miss, sa pan, Miss, discussion ganiya, Miss. Ginahantak na ko praktisan ba?
Ang kuan.
Lagi, Miss, kaso lang, Miss, wala mo ko na-provide.
Naman to unsay kuan way solution. Naam katong discuss ay katong at last man to nga problem ang how can I give lagi di solution nga ang I have no internet guba among kuan naglisod man kay ko you know what lagi ko sa garahe namo. I cannot give the naman to mga 100 adto. I cannot give kay naglisod man kay ko karon kay kuan wala mi sa guba among kuan I am using the data. Di ko ka send na kuan good if I will have a good connection. Naglisod man kay ko karon kay gamit ko laptop niya nag sa ko sa unsa na kay dili load sa kuan ang unsa ni. Wala pa maayo ang wifi. So this is what is important ha the problem nga find the probability. So it is find that the probability double man that papas naman hinoon ni. Okay, that one na lang. What is important is that one. You have 62% of the 12 graders attend school in a particular urban school wherein 500 children are selected, and then out of that one we are going to determine are selected and find the probability that at least 290 are actually enrolled. So if you will transform your kuan, your if you will transform your if you will transform your problem, it will be the probability of x greater than or equal to n, wherein if you will have we will substitute our x greater than or equal to n, so we will have to transform it into the application of the probability to the problem. So it will be probability of x greater than or equal to n is equal to p x, a probability greater than or equal to ano naman yun? Greater than, gislas lang ni nako kay di ko kahibaw sa ubos sa abutang ang kuan. So it will be greater than or equal to pila ni atong kuan 290. So we have it 200 to 290. Now that is our kuan probability that is being asked, because we have there at least it will be represented as greater than. So this will a representation with respect to the problem greater than or equal to. But for the problem it will be the probability of x will be greater than if you will look at the continuity correction factor, ang kanang probability nga x greater than n, you are going to use the probability of x greater than n minus 0.5 greater than ilang na atong n? Atong n is 500. Minus 0.5. We try to look at that one first. The problem is at least 290 are actually enrolled. So if you will interpret your problem, it will be the probability that x is greater than or equal to 290. So if you will look at that one, I did 290, not 500. So ang atong problem is P, the probability of x greater than or equal to 290. Mao na tong problem, no? You are rewriting the problem using the continuity correction factor. Now, if you will apply to our condition nga greater than or equal to, ang imo makitaan sa correction factor is you are going to use probability of x greater than n minus 0.5. Did you get it? Did you see the correction factor? Kung kani mo ning ikuan, kamo na imong condition sa problem, tangon tanan lang ni Cedric equal to the correction factor nga ang imong p, your p is ang imong x is greater than your use greater than n minus 0.5. N minus 0.5. Okay, again ha. Ang atong problem, if we are going to transform our problem to so that we can use the continuity correction factor, ang atong problem is the probability of x greater than or equal to n. For n, it will be the probability of x greater than or equal to 290. Now, kaning left side nato, ang equivalent natong continuity correction factor is this one. Kaning right side, mao ning atong CCF. This is our continuity correction factor. Nga ni jibe siya sa atong left side. If we will have probability of x greater than or equal to n, ang yung continuity correction factor is p is x greater than n minus 0.5. Mao na correction factor niya. So if we will substitute it to our problem, it will be p of x greater than 290, which is our what we are going to get for the probability, greater than 290 minus 0.5. So that is what you are going to use when you will solve na using the continuity correction factor. So after that, you can draw or you can represent this one as 290 minus 0.5. Pila man na siya. So you get equivalent here of this. This will be equal to probability of x greater than or equal to 289.5. 289.5. So that will be your equivalent of your correction factor. One. Did you get it? Kaning left side mo ni ang atong kuan sa problem. Because it is greater than or equal to, ang atong gamiton nga correction factor will be probability of x greater than n minus 0.5. Now, if we will substitute our value, our probability of x greater than 290 minus 0.5 from the correction factor, which if we will simplify, it will be the probability of x is probability of x greater than or equal to 289.5. That one, up to that part. Now, the next step is remember that before we used that one, we multiplied our n, which is 500 times to the n. I forgot to place here. Our n here is 500, which we will base it from the 500 our P is 0.62. P is equal to 0.62, 62%, that is 0.62. Then our Q is 1 minus P. Our Q is equal to 1 minus P, where this will be equal to 0.38, 0.38. So these are the given values. This will be 0.62. So those are the values. So going back to what we have now, we will go to with the given condition. Now we have probability of X greater than or equal to 289.5. The next step is to draw a diagram with the mean in the center and then shade the area corresponding to the probability which we are looking for. So after this is your first step. After this, you are going to make a diagram. Itong inyong bell shape. So after getting this, we will draw the bell shape. Lisod yung ano sa lamesa. So you will have here the bell shape. Now at the center of this, you will have the greater than your 300. You will have here at the center. So this will be your mean. And then you will have here the 289.5. This is your two 189.5. Then the center, you will have this one as your 310. The center, you will have to solve it. Huh? So you will have that one as the center. So that is for X greater than, that is greater than or equal to 289.5. So ang inyong area, the shaded area here is you will have this one as the shaded area. Ano yung shaded area ninyo ha? Abot anong linya. This is your shaded area. That represents your shaded area. Here at the right side. And then, because you will be solving for the mu, you will solve first for your mean, your mu, you did have, that was ano, you will have to solve for your mean, that is your mu, your, what else? You have your variance, your mu or expected value, your variance, and then your standard deviation.
Excuse me, miss. Pwede ma-interrupt ka just? Kajot,
Standard
miss.
deviation is sigma. Your variance is sigma squared. Sigma. So you have your mu is the expected value. Yeah. Sige. Yeah, what is it? Binido?
Yes, miss. Yes, miss. Pwede mo
Yeah,
mga tana, miss.
binido.
Asa ni kaning 310
What
nga
is it?
normal distribution nakuha. Yun sa siya pagkuha bitaw. Medyo nawala ko gamay.
Oh, mo na akong gingon ninyo na tarong pabitaw, you solve for the mu.
Ah, okay.
You solve for the mu.
Ah, okay, miss.
Na naman may mga kuan n times p, di ba? Ang inyong mu for this is n times p. Di ba? Nga katong kuan niya, then you will have the variance and you can solve for the sigma. Because you take note that at the center, it is always the mu or the standard deviation. Wala na lagi pa ka, maglisod lagi ko kay dili ko comfortable na ako sa bangko, right? Maglisod ko. I am outside, wala may signal. So after that, inyo na nagikuan, you can solve for your mu, your variance. Your mu in this case is expected value, ang your representation E of x. Then your variance ng capital V of x, and your standard deviation yung sigma. So, but remember that ang kanang center mo gina siya ang kanang inyong kuan, ang inyong mean or standard deviation, di ba? So it is at the center. That is obtained by kuan, by computing for the mean and the standard deviation. Then you will go on to the z-score. Sunod na sa daan you have to go on to the z-score. So how will you solve for your z-score? You will have to find here that naglisod magbuko kay. You will have to arjo ko sa bangko, naglisod ko ano. So after this,
Yes, we understand your
expected
situation,
na
miss.
you will have to to solve for your mean, variance, and standard deviation. Then you will have here, find the z-score. Ikaw man na ninyo, find. Find the z-score. Pagkaw man na ni. So how will you find the z-score? How will you find the z-score? So take note that you have your 289.5. That will be, kung gisolve ninyo tanan na standard deviation, it will be, in your z-score, it will be 289.5 minus your 310, di ba? Minus your 310. This will be all over the standard deviation. If you solve for your standard deviation, it is all over 10.85 inyong makuha ang standard deviation. The formula, the same, rabay na formula sa z-score. Mean minus, the x minus, mean all over standard deviation. So this will be, ang standard deviation, if you had solved it after before you made the diagram, that will be equal to 1.89. That is minus 1.89. Minus, klaro ba na minus? Kung equal siguro kung subutan. That equal or minus? Minus 1.89. So you will just go back to the solution, minus 1.89. And then, after, because naalaman mo anak ko ang answer, you are going to look at the value of this sa 1.89 from your z table, di ba? Balik lagi sa gimus kani adto. Ang value ani from the z table, isunod lang ninyo, ako lang i-edit ko from the z table. The value of this is equal to 0.4706, 0.4706. 4706. Muna sa value dito sa Z table. And then, after this, you are going to add 0.5 katong naa dito sa inyong gigamit nga correction factor. So after this one, you are going to add, ako lang i-type para mapalimot, add 0.5 katong sa inyong correction factor, 0.5, o katong dili dahil add 0.52 kuan to your, from your graph, di ba? Ang 1/2 is covered, the other, na-appeal man ninyo kay left side man, so ang inyong value is 0.4. So you add plus 0.5, add 0.5 to your, to the value that you have from the table, 0.47006. Add to change na lang. So we have add 0.5 to 0.476. 0.4706. Where this will be equal to 0.970 9706 or the probability is 97. Okay, so that is what you are going to do. The first thing is that you are going to, out of the given problem, you are going to identify the N, the P, and the Q. Then after identifying the N, the P, and the Q, you will solve your variance is sigma squared, when your variance is N times P times Q. So if you will multiply N times P times Q, that will be your variance. And your standard deviation, you will have it here. Mu is equal to expected value man siya. This expected value which is equivalent to N times P. Sabi N times P. Ang imong variance which is equivalent to sigma squared. Iba mo mga sa refer. This is N times P times Q. N times P times Q. Maunang ana na mo value. Kanya kani imong standard deviation is equal to hindi na sa kuan sa square root ani. Your standard deviation is square root of your sigma squared. Oh, This is square root of your sigma squared. Problema kay we have again to change it to it will be square root here. Square root na. This is square root of your ako lang ibutang square root of your variance. Ang V na lang square root of your variance. It is square root of your variance. This one. Square root of your variance. So, resulta ni mo there is a variance, square root ni mo man siyang standard deviation. So, after you will have this one, mo na ang inyong ikuanda yun, ihimo ang graph. So, after making your graph, you will have to solve for the z-score, that is x minus mu all over standard deviation, you will have the value. And then, after getting the value of the z-score, you are going to get the value from the table so that you can interpret your graph. So it is more than 1/2 of the shaded area. So you are going to give the value of, you are going to add 0.5 because it is more than 1/2 of the graph is shaded to the value of what you were able to get, which is negative 1.89 on the left side. That is your standard deviation is, ito itong standard deviation. Only this is man dito, the mu. So, is to the left. So, gikan diri, padung din ha sa 289.5, which corresponds to the value of the standard deviation, negative something. That will be, the value is 0.4706. So, meaning to say that you are going to add the value of this with the 0.5 of the other half, you will have it as 0.9706. So, the probability that at least 290 are actually enrolled out of the 500 samples is equivalent to 97.06%. So kanira, you will just go back to kwan. Then mauro balik rin yung z-score. Pero ang importante is kani pag-transform sa inyong problem, ang pag-transform ninyo sa inyong problem, and then sa probability, kani mo importante ang transformation of your problem. Kani din mo importante. And then, kung unsa ang correction factor nga inyong gamiton, mo na importante pag-identify, pag-transform sa inyong problem, then after the transformation of the problem, kung saan ninyo pag-identify ang continuity correction factor. Nga mao na ni ang kuan ang gi-substitute na ang value. So kanira is screenshot ninyo Meron, mawagtang ra ba ni ikahuman sa atong klase? Screenshot ni ninyo. So, next meeting, tagantay lang I will give you a problem. You are going to solve it using the normal approximation of formula, the binomial distribution using the formula of the binomial distribution, and solving it with the use of the normal approximation. So, one problem, two solutions. Ang letter A, using the binomial distribution nga formula. Ang letter B, normal approximation to the binomial distribution. You will arrive at exactly the same answer. Nakasabot na mo? Any question? So that next time, we will go on to Poisson distribution. Inya kaning normal approximation, maod gihapon ning continuity correction factor if we are going to solve for normal approximation to Poisson distribution. Mao gyapon ang continuity correction factor. The same method also,
Okay, miss.
but then you will solve for the problem using the Poisson. Any question? Yeah, did you get it?
Yes,
So,
miss.
ang
Nako-erase na
assignment
concern, miss ba?
on Wednesday will be one problem. What is your concern?
Yes, miss. Regarding
Yes.
sa amo ang last assignment, miss,
May concern.
kwan miss ba ang I guess ang dividend or kanabit ang kwan kanabit ang tawag na over or kanabit sa denominator nga gamit nimo sa say tawag na miss sa kwan ba sa among scoring miss ba? For example, magpakakuha mig 10 miss, di ba? I guess kuan
Ano man?
20 man dapat ang kuan, dapat ang ibutang nimo nga denominator. So para 10 over 20, so at least makakuha mig 50%. Pero ang gigamit man nimo dito gud sa mong last assignment miss is 100. So if makakuha mig 10, so di bali ang amuhasang score ato is 0.10 perti na mong kuan na bagsaka miss.
No. Dili. Uy. No. Minaw sa, you're not listening during when I give the instruction. Dili, waka kasabot. You listen, ha? If sit work or assignment, it is 20. Wala na pong usab ang kuan ana, denominator 20. So ang imong highest score ana is 20. Makita na ninyo sa uban nga if you will see, kung ang highest score 20, that is 20 over 20. If the highest score is 100, that is 100 over 100. So if the highest is 100 and you are able to get 10 only, that means your solution is wrong. So ang imong score ana is 10 only out of 100. Makahibaw mo ana kayo kansi na dusay masayop gali ko nga it is kuan it is a sit work pero nabutang nako og kuan nabutang nako og sani nabutang nako siya og para sa 100 pero makita na nako mausab na nako when once I can when I review mausab ang inyong tanawon quiz gali that is 100 nya makakita mo sa scoring nga ay 18 ay 19 ay 100 kung nagay 80 nagay score nga 80 or above 50 ang kana di total items ana is 100 pero ang scores gali mga 5 10 15 highest 20 kung there is nothing that is 0 all over 100. Okay, I will place a score a little out of what I have seen from your solution that can be 10 all over 100, that can be 20 all over 100. Dili kay kuan 10 over 20 na dili. You see, you look at the scores of the rest. Kita lang kag 80 that is the total score there is 100. Kita kag 20 kag highest 20, 15, ana, 20 ra na highest. Okay, any more questions? Any more questions? Kung ano may kuha iba loob sa anang ka na namang sit work ka, I had it still at kuha na, I did not change it, take up, nag-series, pero nabuti
So,
na ko na sa akong past record nga quiz na is 20. Makitaan sa inyo sa inyo. So, when I make the computations, that is my basis. O, ano pa?
Okay, so miss ako lang clarify miss. So if makakuha og 20 ato miss,
Anything
pasabot
else?
miss, kuha na ka miss 100 na ka to miss.
20 over 20. Kung 20 ang kuha, kung sit work to, 20 mo kuha, that is perfect for the quiz, for the sit work. But then, if you got 20 out of the quiz, nga 100, that is 20 over 100. I-explain na bitan na ko ninyo. Because kada ko hindi ko gusto mag-usab-usab kay if kada test mag-usab na sa kusag na I base it already from that. Ang total score for the quiz is 100. Sit work or what kanang assignment that is only 20. Pero there are times kung daghan kayo ang ansiran sa kuan ako makaibawsan mo nga kana nga assignment gihatag ko nag 100 kay because you can see a score of 80, 90 ana 100. That is how I do the grading. Okay, any more questions? Uy, ini mo wala man mga ting ang ako estudyante na duha tulo ra gyud nakabuo kana radyo maningog.
Magula ng
Mo na inig test ka na lang naningog may kaybaw. Kuna may maningog oy.
wala na miss.
Okay na po may question wala na.
Magwala
Unsa
na
man?
miss.
Wala na.
Wala na miss.
So you will have your assignment. Be sure nga. Unsa man? Sabi niyo.
Wala na. Okay na miss.
Lagi. So be sure nga ang inyong assignment will have two solutions ha. Binomial distribution nga formula and be sure you will have to do it step by step kay butangan lang ko og answer.
Kana pa miss ba ako tong erase na
And
nga concern
then,
miss if pwede ra
You
miss.
will have to solve it using normal approximation. Kaya akong ihatag nga problem, I will see to it that the n times p is greater than 10 so that you can apply the two equation, the two methods. Okay, if you have no more question. Unsa lagi? Unsa man na imong
Yes
concern?
miss.
Uy,
Yes
unsa
miss.
imong concern?
Katorang
Ako
kon
ni
miss.
You do it before the
Di
time.
miss. Yes miss, sorry miss, medyo delay ako ang
Oh.
communication re miss. Kon
Amara
miss
ka?
kanang kon miss ba kanang pwede ta may mga kanang kon miss solution atong last assignment miss para ma-practicean bitaw na miss. Kabalo miss sa solution jud ba? Proper solution bitaw.
Lagi ko ang ako maglisod ko, you know what? As of now, guba man gud among kuan. Wi-Fi mo nang bitang lisod man kay kurog klase ninyo. May gani kan klase ninyo ubang may study na dem klase basta dili may connection. Damang ikos garahe ron because kung pananglitan I will do the unsa na the solution katong sa inyong kuan upat ka class upat ka numbers nga sa assignment. I will try to kuan pero kung maayo akong internet connection I will just send it. Asa man ako i-send? Sa dito sa LMS?
LMS lang miss. Okay na kayo miss. Amo lang i-check miss.
Uy. Oh, kung mahimo basta ka na. I can
Thank you kayo miss.
send
Thank
it
you so much miss.
basta maayo na ang internet na mo. Gi-complain ko pa ni. Okay, so wala na question but I will try my best makasend ko kung maato ko sa kuan sa Pikasbay na mo nga na
Wala na miss.
internet.
Wala na miss.
I
Okay.
will try to send
Okay
it.
ra nan so far miss.
Karon
Katorong
naglisod jud ko na ako sa
binomial akong kon miss.
Okay, so okay. So bye class.
Goodbye miss.
So,
God bless.
Okay. Bye.